Worse yet, there was no evidence found that could put the alleged victim at the location that day. How is everybody doing? I'm doing okay, thank you for asking. Tis I, the native patriot, and today, as you can tell from the title of the video down below or up above, I wanted to talk about something that I've kind of had on my mind for a long time. I just never got around to making this video. I wanted to talk about like manufactured hate crimes or hate crime hoaxes or crimes that were made to believe they were racial and hate crimey in some way when they actually were not. Why I wanted to make this video is just because I remembered one time, kind of a long time ago, a coworker of mine, we were discussing politics, of course, and this individual knows that I voted for Trump. This is when I used to live in Los Angeles, and he said something like, well, you know, there's a rise in hate crimes and all this stuff, and I'm like, is there really? Just because somebody makes an accusation doesn't necessarily make it true, right? So people can make all the accusations of hate crimes they want, but are they actually true is what I kind of want to go through. And I only have like a handful of examples here. Like, I'm not going to go through every single hate crime reported in the United States and go through them. My point is not to say that there are no actual hate crimes, but the point of this video is just to show, I guess, some context or whatever. Basically what happens is that somebody makes an accusation of a hate crime and it turns out to be false or something. People don't really see the news that it was fake or whatever. So people go around thinking that all of these hate crimes happen all the time when they probably actually don't happen as much as people think that they do. Does that make sense? And I know that I'm rambling, but I just want to be very clear before we continue with this video. I do know that racism exists. I do know that hate crimes unfortunately happen, and I know white supremacists exist out there in the world, but I just don't think that they exist to the proportions that lefties or SJWs make it seem to be. So yeah, I'm going to pull up some cases and I will link all of the links in the description box so you can take a look and read up on your own. Well, we're going to start off with the first story here, which is a girl admits to lying about her 6th grade classmates cutting off her dreadlocks. A 12-year-old black girl from Virginia has recanted an accusation that her white 6th grade classmates pinned her down and cut off her dreadlocks. She recanted it, she took it away because it didn't happen, and why it's like being looked at as a hate crime is because of this white part. So if a white person did this to a little black girl, people automatically assume it's a hate crime. And this is so sad that we've come to this point in society that people are lying about these kinds of things. So there's that. The next one here, police determine anti-Muslim hate crime a hoax in Ann Arbor. Police in Ann Arbor have debunked another anti-Muslim hate crime after a student's claim she was threatened for wearing her Muslim headscarf was discovered to be a hoax. And after the initial report, further investigation by the police revealed a false report was filed by a Muslim U of M student who told police several weeks ago that a man threatened to light her on fire if she did not remove her hijab as she walked down the street in Ann Arbor. The unidentified student claimed her assailant was a white man. A review of surveillance video from businesses along William and State Streets, the area the woman said the assault took place, provided no evidence of a man matching the description she provided. Worse yet, there was no evidence found that could put the alleged victim at the location that day. Toronto Star. Attack on a girl wearing a hijab didn't happen, police say. But why did the TDSB let the cheerful 11-year-old face the cameras? I don't know what the TDSB is, but why would they let a 11-year-old face the cameras? Because people that make up hate crimes like this do it for a lot of reasons. One of the biggest ones just being for attention. It's sad that we've come to this point in society where people make up these kinds of accusations because they take away attention and awareness for actual victims of actual hate crimes. But yeah, people do this because they want attention, and so they'll sometimes go to great lengths to be at the center of a controversy or be the center of attention, even if that means faking something like this. That's just my 2 cents. Days after an 11-year-old girl alleged that a man cut her hijab twice, Toronto police have concluded that events did not happen. In a statement released Monday, the police, who had been investigating the alleged incident involving the grade 6 student at blah 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 as a hate crime, said the investigation is now concluded. Wah, wah, wah. Some of you may have already heard of this, or maybe briefly heard about this, but from what I understand, this dude, Bubba Wallace, who's part of NASCAR, found a noose in his stall where his car is, and he, I guess, thought it was a hate crime. He thought it was bullying that somebody left a noose in his stall. So we'll take a look at this right now together. NASCAR says rope in Bubba Wallace's garage was mistaken for a noose. FBI rules out hate crime. Here, this is like the, I don't know, a couple days or maybe the day of or after the day that a noose was allegedly found in Bubba Wallace's stall where his NASCAR car is, I think. So it says, today's despicable act of racism and hatred leaves me incredibly saddened and serves as a painful reminder how much further we have to go as society, and persistent we must be in the fight against racism. Blah, 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 blah. By the way, follow me at the Native Patriot on Twitter and Instagram, same name there. So late Sunday afternoon, NASCAR was made aware that noose was found in the garage stall of the 43 team. We are angry and outraged and cannot state strongly how seriously we take this act. Blah, 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 blah. And again, says the rope was mistaken for a noose. And I believe here we can see the actual rope in question. So this was before the alleged attack. It does look like a little noose, but I guess it has a loop so that it's for the garage door, so you can pull the garage door down. So for some reason, Bubba Wallace, he assumed it was a noose or something, and assumed some racist white supremacist people left it in his stall to bully him or whatever. But turned out to be, it was a mistake. It was mistaken for a noose. So another one here: Sumter mayoral candidate accused of faking her own kidnapping. So a woman was injured and her car windows have been smashed when she falsely reported the incident to the police. The incident was also posted on Facebook Live. A mayoral candidate and associate are being charged after the police say News 19. You need to proofread your stuff. The police say they staged a kidnapping and beating and posted it online. According to Sumter Police, Sabrina Belcher, 29, and Christopher Eady planned a kidnapping and beating, which they recorded and posted on Facebook Live. This was in order to gain publicity, sympathy, and votes in the November election. This could have easily been misconstrued or whatever as a hate crime, so they could gain sympathy and publicity for votes in November. And she was running for mayor of Sumter, I guess is the city, which is ridiculous. Let's take a look at this. Jail for woman who tweeted threats to fellow black students. So from what I understand, this chick here, I think works at a school or was in school or something, and she's an SJW, so she thinks that white supremacists run rampant in this country, so much so that she had to fake and send fake tweets to fellow black students, I think, to make it seem like racism is a big threat in this country. Again, if you have to manufacture racism, what does that say about actual racism in this country? Like, if racism was such a big thing in this country, you could just go out in public and organically experience a hate crime or experience racism, and you wouldn't have to, you know, manufacture it, basically. A former leader of a black student group was sentenced Friday to 90 days in jail for tweeting anonymous threats against fellow black students in an attempt to raise awareness about racial issues on campus. So it's pretty disgusting. She manufactured her own threats, which is ridiculous. And this one's a little bizarre to me. A case of a biracial woman saying she was set on fire by white men closed for lack of evidence. The Madison Police Department began investigating after Althea Bernstein, 18, told police in June that 4 white men yelled a racial slur at her through her rolled-down car window while she was stopped at a traffic light around 8 a.m. She said one of the men then used a spray bottle to douse her with a liquid and threw a flaming lighter at her. According to police department reports, Bernstein's the liquid ignited, burning parts of her face and neck. The U.S. Attorney's Office in Madison said Friday that after a thorough investigation into the incident, it was closing the case without charges filed. And the pictures down here, I'm not going to show you. I'm going to skip it. You can go look at this on your own because I don't want YouTube to think that I'm like... I mean, the picture is really not that bad. Like, it just... there's some burns on her face, which I'm assuming she did that to herself. Federal investigators determined that there is insufficient evidence to prove that a violation of any federal criminal statute occurred. Madison police released nearly 160 pages of reports detailing its investigation into the incidents. Surveillance video from traffic and surveillance cameras showed that Bernstein's car only stopped once and that no other vehicle or person was around her. Investigators could not find a group of white men on the cameras, according to the reports. Crazy. Crazy people out there pretending stuff happened to them that probably didn't happen to them at all. Texas A&M police say student who reported racist notes placed them there himself. College Station, Texas. In a report released to KBTX on Thursday, police at Texas A&M University said a student who reported finding racist notes on his car's windshield last month may have placed papers there himself. However, the 21-year-old at the center of the case wrongly denies those claims. Of course you denied those claims. Isaiah Martin, a senior at A&M, called police afternoon, reporting 3 handwritten notes on his car that said "All Lives Matter" and "You Don't Belong Here." The third one contained the N-word. Police said in the report that it was difficult to distinguish any characteristics of the suspect in the video, but based on video evidence, no other person had enough time to place the messages on Martin's car other than himself. He was the only person with enough time to place the notes on his car. So, you be the judge. 19-year-old admits to insurance fraud after vandalizing his own SUV. So, this young man here, Clifton Utsi spray painted racist, homophobic, and anti-Semitic graffiti on his own SUV. Additionally, they said he poured a substance believed to be sugar into his gas tank, intending to cause damage. After this, Utsi filed a false insurance claim. Utsi was driving without a license, had loaded illegal guns in his possession. Yikes. So, he admits to insurance fraud and wrote racist, homophobic, and anti-Semitic graffiti on his own SUV. So, obviously intended to make this look like a hate crime, which is so bizarre. Suspect busted in vandalism of Black Wall Street gallery. So, the reason I'm bringing this up, it's not necessarily a hate crime hoax, but basically there's this thing in New York City, I think, which is Black Wall Street, which is like, I think, black businesses and stuff, and it was like a black owned art gallery, and there was like vandalism that happened, and the way that it was being framed in the media and by other people is that it was a hateful crime because it was against a black owned business. So that was the narrative that was going on, only to find out that the man who did it was also black. William Robeson. So that's the reason that I wanted to bring this up as a hate crime hoax, or made to believe that it was a hate crime when it actually wasn't. So there's that. Man faces charges in drive-by killing of Jasmine Barnes. So the same reason the last story, this was made to believe that it was a possible hate crime, or that it was white supremacy or something like that. And it's actually a really sad story, because she was a 7-year-old girl that was killed here in Texas. Before the arrest, police had released a sketch of the suspect Thursday, compiled from descriptions from Jasmine's mother and 3 sisters. At the time, authorities had said it showed a white man in his 40s, only to come to find out that it was actually not a white man. And so again, the reason I'm bringing this up is because it was being framed as a possible hate crime, or a white guy did it, and blah blah blah. Turned out not to be the case. And the last thing we can talk about is just talk about the Jussie Smollett thing, and how that seems like a very obvious hate hoax crime and all this stuff. And that, obviously that's going through the courts right now, but anybody with 2 brain cells can see that this seemed very fishy and seemed very manufactured. Could be another example of manufactured hoax hate crimes. And also an honorable mention is the whole Covington Catholic kids with that Indian dude in Washington DC, and how the media and people were trying to make it seem like this little kid was like being racist towards a Native American and all this stuff, only to come find out that the Native American dude was the one that like started it. And again, this can just be another example of how I think the media is very complicit in stoking the fires of this alleged rise in hate crimes, or white supremacy, or racism in this country, and blah 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 blah. So as I said earlier, if racism and if white supremacy is an actual giant threat to this country, you wouldn't have to manufacture even one incident of a racist attack or a hate crime, right? And it to me, this kind of debunks, in a lot of ways, this alleged idea that America is this racist, white supremacist nation and all that stuff. But again, you know, it's sad because it takes away from victims of actual hate crimes, actual racism, and all of this stuff. But yeah, if you got to the end of this video, thank you so much for watching. I feel like I'm Donald Trump right now. Thank you for watching. Leave me a comment and a thumbs up, and I will hope to see you guys in the next video. Bye.